Howdy folks, and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles, advert free, thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, or at least advert free, until some record company executive hears a bit of in-game music playing that sounds vaguely like something one of their recording artists might have whistled during a lunch break, and then they monetize the entire video, claim it for themselves, and YouTube says, not my problem. Because that's what it's like being a YouTuber these days. Not that I'm bitter or anything. Oh no. So anyway, what's the news this week? Oh wow. Oh yeah, we do actually have some very big news this week. Let's get the important stuff out of the way first. I mentioned in last week's Mingles with Jingles. Actually, now that I've just said I mentioned in last week's Mingles with Jingles, I've just remembered something else that happened in last week's Mingles with Jingles that I said I would update you on this week. So that's two things. Okay. Don't forget them, Jingles. Don't forget them. Hang on a second. I'm just going to pause the video, stop recording, and write these down, because I know what I'm like. Otherwise, I will forget. Right. Okay, I'm back. I've written down everything. What? Don't you have to do that? Wow, what it must be like to have a working memory. You lucky, lucky people. Okay, anyway. The first thing that I mentioned in last week's episode of Mingles with Jingles that I said I will update you on this week was to do with my shitty internet connection. Do you remember I predicted that Virgin Media were simply giving me an engineering technician appointment just to get me the hell off the phone, and then they were going to do the same thing they've done the last 2 years in a row, cancel the appointment the day before, claiming that they have identified a heretofore unforeseen problem in the area and fixed it. Which then, of course, necessitates my phoning them up again and getting another engineer problem because they haven't bloody well fixed anything. That didn't happen this year. They actually sent the engineer around. And he actually fixed it. Turns out my router was on its last legs and the power levels were all up the spout. So I now have a brand new, completely new model, the latest version SuperHub 3 internet router, 15 milliseconds of ping, and 210 megabits worth of downstream and 12 megabits of upstream. So I'm getting what I'm actually paying for again, although a little bit too late for the ring contest in World of Warships, where they were running that contest for the community contributors, the winner of which gets themselves into the game as a ship captain. Also, I thought, because it turns out, as I'm sure those of you who follow World of Warships are aware, that I'm still in with a chance, because they've decided that the formula that they'd used, I mean, we knew this, I've been telling them for weeks, but the formula that they used was kind of not entirely fair. To be completely fair to wargaming, I mean, they were trying to do it as fairly as they possibly could, but they didn't make any allowance for things like, for example, the World of Warships podcast, run by Kellorn and Arun and a couple of other people who aren't community contributors. And these are great guys, and the World of Warships podcast is a very, very good community service, I should know. I've done a couple of episodes with them. But it's not a Twitch channel, and it's not a YouTube channel. And the contest, as I'm sure you're all aware, was set up so that your views, likes and comments would get added together and then divided by the number of followers that you had on Twitch, or the number of subscribers that you have on YouTube, whichever number was bigger. But what if you're a podcast and you don't have, any Twitch followers or YouTube subscribers? Well, it turns out the World of Warships podcast does actually have a YouTube channel, but it only had something like 112 subscribers. And the videos that we were doing for this contest were all going not on our own channels, but on the global World of Warships channel, which gets thousands and thousands of views. And of course these videos were going to get thousands and thousands more. But if everybody who was following the contest just viewed each video once, that meant somebody like the World of Warships podcast, with only 112 subscribers on YouTube, was getting thousands and thousands of views. And their views, likes and comments were only being divided by 112, which was the number of YouTube subscribers that they had. I have 600,000. Yeah. I couldn't do a video anyway because of my internet problems, but even if I had been able to do a video for the first round of the ring, It turned out that I would have needed, in order to be in first place, I would have needed 500,000 views, 500,000 likes, and 6 million comments in order to be in first place. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible, but it's highly unlikely. So whose fault was that? Well, you can't blame the World of Warships podcast. You know, they're community contributors just the same as I am. They provide a very, very good service for the World of Warships community. You can't judge that based on the number of YouTube subscribers that they have. It's not their fault that they're a podcast and not a Twitch live stream or a YouTube channel. And then you have other community contributors like Little White Mouse from the North American forums, who doesn't do videos. Don't think she even has a YouTube channel. She definitely doesn't live stream. But in combination with other people like Alert from the Netherlands, does the best ship reviews for World of Warships, the most comprehensive ship guides on the North American forums that you will ever find in World of Warships. But how's she going to enter this contest? She doesn't do videos. Yeah. And then there were other issues that came to light. There was a Russian community contributor, goes by the name of Turi. Fantastic guy, by the way. I met him in St. Petersburg. A really, really nice guy. His video went up. No English subtitles. So I'm sure it was a good video because he's not a popular Russian community contributor for nothing, but I have no idea what he was talking about. And I'm sure that didn't help his chances because, well, if anybody else watching his video was like me, you got about 30 seconds in, you realised you had no idea what was going on, and you just quit. So that probably didn't help his chances very much. And I wasn't the only community contributor who had internet problems. I just had bad internet. I at least had some internet. Jive Turkey had no internet whatsoever. The entire weekend, when we were supposed to be doing the mission and recording a video of it for the contest to be uploaded on the Monday, he had no internet whatsoever until Monday when an engineer came around and restored his service. So he, like me, he was out of the contest at the first hurdle as well. So, yeah, there were multiple problems, some of which were foreseeable, some of which weren't, not least of which was the way the contest was set up, and it didn't really offer a fair and equitable chance for big and small community contributors, whether they podcast, write ship guides, do YouTube videos or live stream. And so Wargaming, I think they did the right thing. It was pretty... When I say wargaming, it's not really wargaming. It's Leicester Studios in St. Petersburg. I mean, they're owned by Wargaming. Wargaming bought them out. They come under the Wargaming umbrella. But World of Warships is a bit different from World of Tanks in that the World of Warships developers are also directly involved with the World of Warships community. I mean, the community team in Prague for Wargaming Europe do have World of Warships people. But it's not like World of Tanks, where all of the development is done by the developers in Minsk, and the community is handled separately, completely separately. The community team for World of Tanks have no input into the development of the game. And they don't always have the best communication with the developers of the game. But with World of Warships, a lot of the community team are the developers. And I think you can tell. I think that's becoming very obvious because of the way World of Warships runs its community. If this contest had been run the same way in World of Tanks, I'll tell you exactly what would have happened, okay? Here we go. The development team would have turned around to the Wargaming EU World of Tanks community team and said, we're running a contest, the winner amongst community contributors gets to be a tank commander in the game. Here are the rules, here's how it's going to happen. Community team, organise it. Community team would have followed their instructions. It would have all gone to rat shit. Community team would have reported back to Minsk saying, look, this just isn't working. There are things that you hadn't taken into consideration. And Minsk would have turned around to the community team and said, don't come to me with problems, just sort it out and make it happen. Because that's the way things happen in World of Tanks. Not so in World of Warships, because the developers are the community team. You see, in World of Tanks, when the community get upset about something, they vent all over the community team. But the community team can't do anything directly about it because they're not the developers. But when that happens in World of Warships, most of the community team are the developers. And so if people make a big enough fuss in World of Warships, things tend to get changed a little bit more quickly and smoothly than they do in World of Tanks. And that's pretty much exactly what's happened. The contest wasn't working, it wasn't really fair, there were issues, some of which were predictable, some of which only came to light when they actually started running the thing. The community complained, and the development team have listened. And they are putting the contest on hold. They're rescheduling and restarting it in September once they've figured out how to do it properly. Good luck to them, because I have no idea how they're going to do it. But the important thing to take away is they're trying, they listen to your complaints, and most importantly, I'm still in with a chance. Sorry. We are all still in with a chance to get the mighty Jingles as your favourite gnome captain in World of Warships. Hooray! Because, let's face it, that's what's important here. Anyway, what's next? Oh, yes. Actually, this isn't something that I mentioned in last week's Mingles with Jingles. Hands up. I don't know why I'm asking you to put your hands up. It's not like I can see you doing it or anything, but, go with it. Hands up everybody who listens to my videos on headphones. Okay, those of you who raised your hand, first of all, do you have any idea how stupid you look sitting in front of your monitor with your hand raised? Because somebody on YouTube told you to. Sorry, okay, anyway, yeah, seriously. Those of you who raised your hand, you headphone users may have noticed some strange audio issues, some sort of muffled thumping and banging noises going on in the background audio levels of the videos that I've been uploading, possibly for as long as a month. Yeah, I noticed too, but only recently. And the reason I noticed was because normally when I'm doing the recording, when I'm recording the audio for these videos, I don't have headphones on. Generally speaking, if it's a World of Warships or a World of Tanks replay that I'm doing a commentary for, I'm actually doing the commentary, the video's up and running, but the audio on the video is muted. So when I play the commentary back to see how it sounds, I'm actually listening to it through my speakers, and I don't really hear anything wrong. However, when I'm doing a Jurassic World Evolution video or an XCOM 2 video, when I'm doing a game where there's a lot of in-game voice work, I tend to do my commentary with headphones on, actually listening to the in-game audio, so that I can fit my commentary around the other characters in the game talking. And then when I play the audio back to see how my commentary sounds listening on the headphones, what the hell are those noises? I've been playing the videos back, listening in on headphones, and there are these weird scratching noises and bumping noises, and the hell's going on? And there's no rhyme nor reason nor pattern to when these various different weird background noises appear. And it was absolutely baffling me. Now, the microphone that I use is a Rode Podcaster. It's an Australian make, and it's a fantastic microphone. But it was getting a bit old. In fact, the microphone was almost as old as my YouTube channel. Seriously. I used to, back in the day when all of my videos still had the Bandicam watermark on, because I was using the free version of Bandicam to record all of my in-game footage, I was recording the commentary just using a Logitech gaming headset with the boom microphone attached to the headset. I didn't actually have a desktop microphone. Well, apparently the audio quality back then was really painful for headphone users, and so one of you guys, and I apologise because I cannot remember who you were, this was seriously like 5 or 6 years ago, got so pissed off listening to my videos on his headphones that he actually sent me some cash in order to buy a proper microphone. And so that's why I got the Rode Podcaster. That was the one that he recommended. And it served me faithfully for years and years and years. But it was getting a bit old, and I was starting to notice some weird background noises getting picked up during recent videos. So I put it to rest, and I went out and I bought a brand new Rode Podcaster microphone. Turns out, whatever was wrong with the background audio had nothing whatsoever to do with the age of my previous microphone. I haven't thrown it out, by the way. Rita's using it now. Because I'm still hearing these really weird sort of banging and thumping and scratching noises when I'm listening to my recorded commentary on headphones. Well, anyway, during the week, I'm busy Googling audio issues, and I ended up on a forum somewhere where somebody was complaining that their microphone kept picking up this weird sort of humming and hissing noise in the background. The very first reply to this guy's problem was, make sure your microphone isn't right next to your PC. And I thought, okay. Electromagnetic interference. No, it's more simple than that. Turns out, his microphone was actually picking up the noise of his case fans. That was the humming and hissing noise that he was actually hearing when he was doing voice recording. And that's when the penny dropped. And I thought, don't go looking for complicated software issues. Check the hardware first. Well, I knew there was nothing wrong with the hardware, not as far as the microphone was concerned, because I just bought a new microphone. So I took a closer look at the shock mount that the microphone's connected to. The 5 or 6 year old shock mount that I got with the original Rode Podcaster. Let me get you a picture of it. This is what it looks like. Yeah, you see those wires? Those are actually rubber, and they're under tension. And those wires suspend the microphone in the shock mount so that it doesn't actually physically come into contact with anything. Turns out that if rubber is kept under tension for 5 or 6 years, it tends to lose some of its elasticity and it starts to stretch. Who'd have thought that was possible? And so, since it had started to stretch, that meant that the shock mount had become slack over the years, and the microphone was actually in contact with the metal of the shock mount. It was drooping. It was no longer being suspended. And it kept... Yeah, that's what the banging was. This muffled thumping noise was actually the microphone making contact with the metal ring on the shock mount. Purely and simply because the rubber was so old. So, long story short, now I've got a new shock mount as well. So hopefully you headphone users shouldn't have to suffer through these really weird background noises that have been popping up on my video for, well, I'm guessing the last month or so, but possibly longer than that, I don't know. But the lesson learned here is don't go looking for complicated and potentially very expensive solutions to what are probably actually very simple problems. Check all of the obvious physical stuff first. Of course, I really should have learnt this lesson many, many years ago, but I seem to keep having to relearn it. Actually, story time, okay? Story time with Uncle Jingles. Let me tell you the tale of when I was in my first place of my own. I was still in the Navy at the time, but I got sick and tired of living on board the ship when it was in Portsmouth. And so I got my own place, a little flat in Gosport, and commuted to and from the ship each day when it was in harbour. Now, I was still a junior rating at the time, so I didn't have a huge amount of money, and I certainly couldn't afford to buy a brand new oven, fridge, TV, VCR, all of the household electrical appliances that you need when you've got your own place. And don't forget, this was way back in the 20th century, when things like TVs, VCRs, fridges and ovens were actually quite expensive. However, renting household electrical appliances was actually a thing back then. And so that's what I did. And of course the benefit of renting all of your household electrical appliances was that if anything went wrong with them, you just call up the rental company and they'd send somebody round and replace it if they needed to. Now, I almost never bothered watching the television. I've never really been a big fan of TV because most of what's on is just utter shit, and that hasn't really changed. But there were a couple of TV shows that I did like to watch, mostly Friday night sitcoms like Friends, Friday night chat shows and game shows on Channel 4. So the TV only really ever got turned on once a week on a Friday. Anyway, one week the TV refused to turn on. The previous Friday it had been fine, but this week nothing. And of course now it's Friday night, so I've got absolutely no chance of getting anybody round to come take a look at it. In fact, I can't even call anybody until Monday morning, which means the earliest I can actually get a technician to come round and have a look at my TV is going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. And if there's anything seriously wrong with it and he has to provide me with a new one, I may not even have a TV in time for next Friday night, so fantastic. Well, anyway, cut a long story short, engineer turns up middle of the next week. I understand you have a problem with your television, sir. Do you mind if I take a look? Absolutely not, no problem. Come in, have a look. So what exactly is the issue, sir? Well, it just won't turn on. There doesn't seem to be any power. I haven't got a clue what the problem is. Where does it plug in, sir? Yeah. It turned out that during the previous week, I'd run the vacuum cleaner around the living room. And I had to plug the vacuum cleaner into the TV socket. And I hadn't bothered plugging the TV back in. So yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. You'd think I'd have learnt my lesson there and then, but no. Years later, I'm in a new house, and I'm having the bathroom done. So there's a bunch of guys around, and they're completely redoing the bathroom from top to bottom. The work is done, it's all good. Off they go. 3 or 4 days later, the shower won't turn on. I'm like, oh, shoddy workmanship. So I phoned them up to complain. The plumber comes back, says, have you checked the fuses? I don't even know where the fuses are. Goes to the cupboard under the stairs. There's the fuse panel that I didn't even know it was there. Yeah, sure enough, the fuses had tripped. Flicks a switch. Suddenly the shower works again. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it is for a man to have to admit to another man that he doesn't even know where the fuse panel in his own house is? Yeah. So, moral of the story, don't go looking for expensive and complicated solutions to what are probably actually very, very simple problems. Check the obvious stuff first. Maybe this time I'll remember. Anyway, we're coming to the end of this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles, but I did mention at the beginning of this episode that there were 2 things that I mentioned in last week's episode that I was going to update you on in this week's episode. I now finally have my own Discord server. Although technically I don't, because somebody else is actually running it on my behalf, because I'm far too lazy to do this sort of thing myself. It really is a lot of work. So put your hands together, please, for Grumper Salty, who is the owner of the Salt Mines, brand new Mighty Jingles subscribers Discord channel. Hooray! And a very, very big thank you to Grumper Salty, who's been spending most of the last week, since I mentioned it in last week's episode of Mingles with Jingles, getting everything set up and ready for the influx of brand new salt mine minions. Everybody's welcome. I've been popping in there on a daily basis to see what's going on. And if you want to join the server, link down below in the video description. And that is just about it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. I hope you... I've just realised I should have... Gamescom's this month, isn't it? I knew there was something I forgot. Well, screw it. We'll talk about Gamescom in next week's episode. Assuming I remember. I should probably write this down. I never learn. I never, ever learn. Some things never change. I'm too old and ugly to change my ways now. And that's why you'll love me. Anyway, that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.